Welcome back. I'm picking up right where I left off. We defeated Athelia, sort of. We broke her loom, and then she became something else. And now we have to restore our relics somehow. But also while we're doing that, we need to finish this map. There's only a few places left. A few little things left to do. I guess.
I'm with you, cohort. Vermin extermination. Ah!
Where am I going for this one? Done with that. Let's go grab this one. Hello.
What would count? You're not planning to attend the Valente Vineyards auction, are you? I'm sure something untoward is going on in there. You seem capable. Would you be willing to help me investigate the situation? House Ravenwatch can be very generous.
What kind of trouble do you expect at a wine auction?
It isn't just any auction. It's run by and for vampires. Being a vampire myself, I can't help but wonder why Lord Gallio Valente, vineyard owner and vampire coven leader, wants to sell wine to other vampires. It's not like we partake of the stuff.
But according to other vampire lore that I've read, if you mix blood with wine, it's very tasty. Supposedly. I personally do not know. Alright, so you were invited to this auction.
Not exactly. I was hunting a violent vampire gang called the Terrors when I found an invitation to the auction. Inviting vampires to such an event is strange enough, but offering this Vesper Valente vintage? That has me concerned. Will you help me?
I'll help you investigate the auction at the Valente Vineyards and Winery.
First, let's look around the vineyard. I want to examine the grapes they grow here. Besides, it's a good idea to get a feel for the grounds before we head into the auction. Never fear. This is exactly what House Ravenwatch trained me for. First, let's look around the...
Hi, Deathhound.
An injured field hand. Let's find out what happened.
This is no place to wander aimlessly, traveler. The foul beasts are vicious and hungry for blood.
Foul beasts?
Ugliest hounds Drovir has ever seen. This one just finished checking the new grapes and was on his way to the auction when it came out of nowhere, ripped up Drovir's leg real good.
Lord Valente invited his servants to attend the auction?
Drovir thought the request was strange too, but Lord Valente insisted, and Lady Valente specifically told Sentry Helvius to let the servants in, even if we didn't have the fancy invitations. If you're here for the auction, you should head inside.
What can you tell me about Lord Galio Valente?
He came back from his travels different. Even his father was concerned about the changes in his beloved son. But shortly after young Galio returned, his father fell ill and died. Galio inherited the vineyard, the title, and all that entailed.
What can you tell us about the auction?
Just that he invited some important guests. He's been working on the new grapes for a special vintage since he returned, and he's very proud of it. Says it's going to make him even more rich and powerful. Can that be possible? This one is unsure.
You mentioned a new kind of grape?
Lord Valente developed the new seeds in his alchemical laboratory under the manor. They grow thorny vines that bear a crimson grape unlike anything Drovir has ever seen before. Once the first vintage was ready, Lord Valente set up this auction.
Can you tell me more about Lady Valente?
Lord Valente's new wife, a high elf with a name too complicated for this one's Khajiiti tongue. Drovir believes they met during young Galio's time away. But what does this old field hand know of such things?
Is there anything unusual about either the lord or lady?
Unusual? Well, this one does not like to talk out of turn, but Drovir hears that Lady Valente wants to be more involved in running the vineyard, but Lord Valente refuses to include her. This one wonders why he even married her.
We can use this.
Let's look more closely at those grapes. The scent wafting off those grapes. It's tantalizing.
A prosperous discovery.
It appears the grapes did not agree with this death hound. Curious. Let's talk. Just as Count Ferrandis taught me, there is always something to learn if you simply pay attention. The field hand was attacked by a death hound, a sure indication of vampiric activity. And he provided a wealth of information. Don't you agree?
You mean about Lord Galileo, and Valente and Lady oh my god. The Lord and Lady, and the new groups.
So you were listening. Good. The field hand described Galileo as different when he returned. He developed a new grape to make him richer and more powerful, and he recently married a high elf, but the marriage already seems troubled.
What do you think of the grapes we examined in the dead death hound?
The grapes were developed using alchemy. They've been infused with blood, and I find the aroma tantalizing. But I dare not try one. Look what consuming the grapes did to the death hound. Our next step is to attend the auction. You shall be my guest.
Won't they notice I'm not a vampire?
The field hand assumed you were a guest of the auction, and the invitation did say to bring my most favored mortal servant. If anyone asks, you're the blood servant of Master Bogvir, the vampire I shall pretend to be and whose invitation I carry.
All right, let's head into the auction.
The invitation indicates we're to head to the walled garden just east of the manor. I suppose that's where they're letting the guests gather prior to the start of the auction. Shall we proceed?
Does the invitation tell us anything about what to expect at the auction?
Let's see. It promises an evening in the beautiful Colovian countryside, majestic views, new and innovative cultivation, a new vintage called Vesper Valente, the auction. Ah, yes. And this. Who says wine doesn't belong in a flask?
What's that supposed to mean?
I could be reading into things, but in some vampire circles, flask is used as a crude term to refer to a blood servant. Someone who willingly lets vampires feed on them, usually for compensation.
And you mentioned that the invitation specifically suggested that vampires bring their servants?
Indeed. Though the vampire I acquired this invitation from wasn't the sort to rely on blood servants. He was extremely cruel. Preferred the thrill of the hunt and drank to kill. This event becomes stranger the more I try to make sense of it.
Alright, continuing on. For you guys, it's the same episode, but for me, it's actually a couple days after. I had to go do life.
Going to need a moment.
Where
I'm not a young man.
going? Do you not tell me? Right. This is the player-owned house. Maravine Estate. I looked at it and I kind of want it, but at the same time, I already own like 5 other houses.
You lead while I look around.
Well, I don't need it. I want one, but I don't need it. Where are you going, my dude? Oh, I think I see it.
Another chance at perfection.
This one, all right. You know, if I was your servant, I should probably not be in front of you, but... This way.
Halt! Your invitation, please.
Right, here you are.
Welcome, Master Bogvir, and guest. I'll escort you to Lord Valente, this way.
Totally unnecessary. I'll find him. Thanks.
Yes, master. Right behind you, sir.
Just a moment. Let's talk first. So, do I look like a Master Bogvir? Probably not. But we work with the tools we're given. Let's split up and mingle. Talk to servants, guests, whoever's willing to chat.
What are we trying to learn in here?
Anything that can tell us the true purpose of this auction. Vampires don't need wine, especially made from grapes that apparently poisoned a deathhound. Try not to come off as too curious, though. We're supposed to be guests here, after all.
Are you going to question people too?
I am. But as soon as we walked in, I was hit with sudden pangs of hunger. Not unlike when I smelled those grapes, but much stronger. Luckily, I carry a flask of blood for times of need. I'll just find an out-of-the-way spot to take a sip.
Understood. I'll ask around and see what I can learn.
Can I offer you a glass of our new Vesper Valente?
Certainly. I'm very curious about this wine.
Really? You're the first of Lord Valente's guests to accept the wine.
Don't drink
I
it.
hope you enjoy it.
You weren't supposed to drink it.
I'd offer you a glass, but your friend just took the last one. I wasn't expecting that. None of the other guests I've served this evening even tried it. Only their attendants and servants.
Isn't this the wine that the guests have come to bid on at the auction?
It is. The vineyard's latest vintage, Vesper Valente. Lord Valente did tell us that his guests probably wouldn't want to try it before the auction, but that I should freely provide it to their attendants and servants.
Have you tried the wine? What does it taste like?
I have. Lord Valente was generous enough to let all the vineyard workers and servants have a glass before the guests arrived. It was salty and crisp, with a slight metallic aftertaste. Something to do with Lord Valente's alchemical process, I think.
I'm sure I read this in a book somewhere where they mixed it with blood. And then they had different names for it. I'll take that, sure. Oh, I don't want the goblins. Something I have to get rid of. Ooh. Cheese, cheese, cheese. Cheese. Vashabar threat.
Another one of my husband's guests. No, you're either an attendant or a servant, I'd wager. Who brought you to my husband's little affair? Pray tell.
I'm here with Master Bogvar.
Master Bogvir? Is that the name he uses now? You know, he bears a striking resemblance to an old acquaintance of mine. In fact, I'm sure of it. How is Fenorian? And why has he come to Valente Vineyard?
Oh, I'm not sure what you're talking about.
No? And why don't I believe you? No, don't worry. I have no desire to reveal Fenorian's deception to my husband. Not before I learn what's going on here, the same as you. Be so kind as to let Fenorian know I'd like to speak to him when he's free.
As you wish. Busted so quickly.
Ah, welcome. I'm Lord Gallio Valente, the humble proprietor of Valente Vineyards and Winery. You, however, have me at a disadvantage. I do not believe we've met. Which of my acquaintances decided to bring you along as their guest today?
I'm here with Master Bogvir.
Bogvir, of course. Where is my old friend? Still upset about that little incident? No matter. I was hoping to clear things up before the auction got underway. Send him over to talk to me the next time you see him.
He's mingling right now, but I can pass along a message if you want.
Oh, don't trouble yourself. Any guest of Bogvir's is welcome. Enjoy yourself. And do make sure to try the wine.
Right, I'll do
now,
that.
If you'll excuse me, I must prepare for the auction.
Is this Vesper Valente really as special as it sounds?
Oh, Lord Valente is certainly proud of his new creation.
Wouldn't that be something?
You there! I am bored, and my hounds are hungry. Will the auction start soon, or must we continue this Colovian dance of manners and pleasantries while my gold sits unspent?
I'm not sure when the auction will begin.
Apologies. I mistook you for a Valente servant. Lord Valente is clever, and if the wine accomplishes a fraction of what he claims, the waiting will have been worth it. But I would prefer to simply buy what I want, and not deal with an auction.
Remind me, what was so special about the wine?
Haven't you tried it yet? You really must sample the vintage for yourself. I suggest you find a glass quickly, before the auction begins. All of the servants and attendants must have that wine flowing through their veins for the main event.
Right, enjoy the party. Again, why does the game keep making me drink things that I know is a horrible idea to drink? Okay, Where did he go?
I heard Lord Valente and his new bride loathe each other.
Why would he marry a mortal? It's beneath him.
This wine is specifically meant for the mortals here, not the vampires. So why are the vampires bidding on it? And why is my flask doing little to curb my rising hunger? Tell me you learned something more, my friend.
Lord Valente's wife is Ursula Valente. She seems to know you and wants to talk to you.
I'm sorry? Did you say Lady Valente's name is Ursilia? Oh, she's that Ursilia. Should we leave? Maybe we can sneak out the way we came in.
She seemed as interested in finding out what her husband is up to as you are.
Right. We do need to figure out what's going on here. All right, I'll stay and talk to Ursilia. You head into the manor and see if you can find Lord Valente's office. Something in there might tell us more about the purpose of this wine.
How does she know you?
That's a story for another time, friend. Let's stay focused. You see what you can find in the manor, while I talk to Lady Valente.
All right, I'll go look in his office inside the manor.
Don't worry. We can talk more later. In the meantime, go and search Lord Valente's office. He must have one inside the manor.
What should I be looking for in the manor?
Ledgers, journals, letters, alchemical notebooks. Anything that gives us some idea of Lord Galio Valente's plans for the wine. Vampires can't drink it, but they're the ones invited to bid on it. We need to know why.
Okay. You know what's kind of funny is I'm a little disappointed in my character because we have, with all of our experience, we should know what we're looking for, right? Like, but yet we act like we're completely new to this. Like, what? Do you want me to look for what? No.
We can use this.
I can't rob the place.
Come along. The tasting rooms are just a little farther in.
They have tasting rooms?
He's not coming out of that tasting room, is he? Oh, I can't apparently touch anything. Alright. Why did I ever agree to marry that woman? Yes, she comes with an impressive fortune, and I can certainly use the money, but she is annoyingly curious and wants to be an actual partner in this marriage. That's not how I want to do things. My first few weeks as a vampire were challenging, but it wasn't long before I decided to take control of my destiny and make the most of my new condition. It wasn't hard to form my own coven out of the disgruntled among Bogvir's clan. Most of them hate that pushy vampire. Still, I have to hand it to Bogvir. He really hit a gold mine with that recipe found in an old scroll. Too bad he isn't as good as an alchemist as he is as a bloodthirsty vampire. I, on the other hand, am a very good alchemist. Back home in my own laboratory, and the tests are going exceedingly well. Yes, some of the first subjects turned into blood fiends, but you can't make an omelet without breaking some eggs. Of course, Father has figured out what happened to me and is mad with grief and rage. I suppose I'll need to do something about that. He lived a long life, so I'll consider it a mercy. My idea is finally paying off. I just realized what he did to his father. My idea is finally paying off. While a vampire can't consume the elixir made from the mushrooms grown in vampire blood directly and survive long enough to reap the benefits, if the elixir is funneled through the intermediary, we receive the power without any of the poisonous effects. By floating the elixir in a solution of wine fermented from my alchemically prepared grape seeds grown in soil enriched with the mushrooms, the wine can be consumed by a non-vampire. This allows us then to feed off the non-vampire fortified with the wine, and therefore receive the benefits of the elixir. The fact that we need to totally consume the vessel containing the wine is unfortunate, but acceptable. And the grapes give off a scent that makes vampires ravenous. At least 2 of my new clan defied my orders and consumed handfuls of the first harvest. They died horribly. I'll call it Vesper Valente, a perfect vintage. Now to invite the leaders of nearby vampire covens to come bid on the wine. I'll make a fortune, enough to keep the vineyards in operation, to keep my miserable wife happy until I dispose of her, and keep my family legacy intact. And all while I gain power by consuming my own product. Through any mortal vassals and victims I acquire, of course. Oh, that I can't interact with anything. Galileo, first you recruit my own vampires away from me, offering them false promises and so-called new opportunities in Westworld. Then you invite me to bid on the very alchemic recipe you stole from me. Does your audacity know no bounds? I admit that while I knew the ambrosial concoction could double or triple our innate vampire powers, you were the one to figure out how to do it without also killing us. Or so you claim. So here's my thought. I'm inclined to take a case or 2 off your hands, but if you expect me to pay for it, then you are even more of a fool than I gave you credit for. Set aside 2 cases of wine for me at the auction, or I'll not only turn the other covens against you, I'll tell the Fighters Guild or Ravenwatch what you're up to. Ogvir.
You again? What are you doing in my husband's office?
Snooping?
You and Fenorian. Never in the right place at the right time. So, did you find what you were looking for? Share it with me and maybe I won't call down to the winery for my husband's army of mercenaries.
Oh, sure. Valente is a vampire. His wine makes vampires more powerful, but only when consumed from a mortal.
Let me see that journal. By the stars. He killed his own father, and he plans to kill me. Oh, he's a cretin and a monster. And yes, pouring wine into people just so you can eat them and gain unnatural power is pretty bad too. Damn it! I drank the wine!
You didn't know he was a vampire?
I suspected something was amiss. Since I arrived, we haven't consummated our marriage, and he spends his time down in the winery, locked in his alchemy laboratory with his mercenaries. Plus, he covets my family's fortune. But a vampire makes sense.
Lady, how did you not know his eyes glows red? Like, how could you not tell? Alright. So what now?
This vineyard could be a motherlode in the right hands. My hands, friend of Fenorian, not my husband's. I assume you're here to stop him? Help Fenorian finish the task, and I'll forgive him for the affront he visited upon me and my family.
I need to get this information to Fenorian.
Make sure you do. I have no intent to serve as a wine glass for my husband.
Urcelia, I suppose I owe you an explanation.
Of course you do, but I don't care. Just talk to your friend and deal with my husband.
All right, if you say so. Lord Valente is well and truly into the auction now, so we have a bit of time. I never expected to find Urcelia here with you, though. What did you discover? And what did she mean by deal with her husband?
Lord Valente's journal explains everything. Here, take a look.
Interesting. He really spells it out, doesn't he? Alchemically enhanced mushrooms used as fertilizer for alchemically treated grape seeds. And the hunger. I wasn't losing control. It's an effect of the grapes. Well, that's a relief.
So if a non-vampire drinks the wine, then a vampire drains them and gains power?
That does seem to be the general idea. If we allow this to spread, the ramifications will be staggering. Even relatively peaceful vampires might be tempted to start killing out of hand. We need to stop this. What were you and Urcelia discussing?
He's pretty adorable, to be honest. Ursula says if you deal with her husband, she'll forgive your affront against her and her family.
Oh, yes. I do suppose I owe her for that. I'm no hired assassin, but I do make a habit out of disposing of dangerous vampires. We will do what is necessary to end this threat. Nothing more, nothing less. And that begins with destroying the wine.
The wine and the laboratory are downstairs. I found the key.
Head downstairs and scout the area. I'll follow along shortly. I need to try to make things right with Urcelia. And maybe I have something in my alchemy kit to deal with the wine in her system. Just the smell of it makes me hungry.
Wait a moment. What did you do to make her so angry with you?
We were betrothed. A marriage arranged by our families. There might have been some affection there, but it was mostly a business agreement. When I became a vampire, I just left. I thought it would be a mercy.
This is a very personal question, my girl. How did you get turned into a vampire?
Well, that's a very personal question. I mean, no offense, but I'm not inclined to share it with someone I only just met. Perhaps someday. I hope you understand.
I swear I didn't know that was going to be his following line. It's just, I read a lot of vampire lore, and in the vampire lore, you never ask the vampire how they became a vampire. Okay, she never knew what happened to you?
No. I didn't want to hurt anyone I knew. Urcelia, my family. So I simply left. Eventually, Count Verandis found me and made me part of House Ravenwatch. Rivenspire is a long way from Somerset, and Westfield is farther still. I never expected this.
Are you going to honor her request?
I'm not going to go out of my way to kill Galio, if that's what you're asking. We do need to destroy his operation, though. This elixir turned wine is too dangerous to distribute to aggressive vampire clans. What happens after that is up to him. Urcelia! Before we talk, let me see if I've got anything that will flush the wine from your system.
I'm not drunk, Fenorian. I only had a glass or two.
You lead while I look around.
I don't want to step in that. Okay.
Valente's journal said he had a coven of vampires. We should expect a fight.
You notice that vampire was holding a butcher knife? Oh my.
And tranquility.
Captives, and apparently under the influence of the wine. Friend, let's speak.
Okay, in a minute. In a minute, I'm being nosy. Oh, well. Over nothing, because I can't actually read that.
These workers must be some of the subjects Galio mentioned in his journal. They're on the verge of turning into blood fiends. I might be able to mix a counteragent with the proper ingredients.
What ingredients do you need?
grape pulp left over from the Vesper Valente wine, wax flower petals to hasten the recovery process, and imperial oak tannins to make the remedy effective topically. Find those items around the winery while I make preparations.
Are these workers of the month? Don't know what I'm looking at.
Better get our share from this auction.
You probably couldn't hear it over the... Okay, it took him forever to lay down. You probably couldn't hear it over the sound of the fighting, but they were flipping a coin like the Joker.
And tranquility.
Do I really want to be taking these grapes? Hi, my guys. Little rat.
What can an arc... wanna fight, do they?
Oh, good. I was starting to worry.
Took me a minute.
I'm glad you're back. Did you find everything we need?
Yes, I found the ingredients you requested.
Once I've brewed the counter agent, pick up the bucket and splash the remedy over our poor patients. It's not the most dignified way to administer medicine, but it works without putting either of you at risk.
I'll pour the cure on the victims. By the way, why can't you put the cure on the victims? Why does it have to be me? You're the one with the vampire.
And that should do it. You're free to administer the cure. Just pick up the bucket and splash.
I was trying, but you were in my way. With your thin little bony body.
Looks like the effects are already subsiding.
You saved us. Please, you need to stop him. Thank you for helping us. Please tell me you're also here to stop Lord Valente.
We are. How did you wind up in that cage?
We really thought things were looking up. Lord Valente had such grand ideas for the vineyard and winery. He even asked us to try a new vintage he was working on. We felt so honored. Then we started to get sick, and he locked us down here.
Any idea on where to find his lamb?
Yes, it's right through those doors. He's growing weird mushrooms and has all kinds of alchemical equipment. Destroy his equipment and burn the mushrooms. That should put an end to his vile experiments.
Okay, I'll see what we can do.
We need to destroy that laboratory. You scout ahead while I work on freeing these people.
Okay.
I'll meet you there.
Hope for the best, because I'm pretty sure these are poisonous. Who you?
Right behind you, friend.
Awesome. So I have to admit, I did play through the Vampire DLC, so some of this is familiar to me as far as the vampire stuff goes, but not enough that I can quote it to you. I know that it's going to feel new when I do it.
I knew there was something wrong about you.
Hello.
I'm not going to ruin all my hard work!
Can you keep your bats to yourself?
Open to me!
Thanks, sir.
Must I do everything myself?
You want to know what that's doing? I'm pretty sure it's sucking the blood out of my veins. That's not gross. I know it was harder to see because I was wearing a black dress, but it was like blood pouring out of my body. But I took it pretty well. What are these? I'm not where I'm supposed to be, am I? Turned around. I got turned around.
This is it. The laboratory. We need to destroy it all.
Let
me explain, friend. Valente's alchemical equipment is truly impressive. It's a shame we have to destroy it. But we need to make sure no one else can continue his experiments.
What do we need to do?
These vats turn the mushrooms into a fertilizer for the grapes. Increase the flames under the vats by adjusting the valves. That will increase the pressure. After that, set fire to the mushroom planters. Then get clear before the vats explode.
You seem disappointed that we need to destroy this equipment.
A part of me hates to see valuable equipment go to waste. But we can't allow more of the Vesper Valente to be created. Now come on, let's do this.
Don't you, sir, need to leave?
Turn up the flame valves as high as they'll go. I'll get rid of these research notes.
I guess I'll start over here.
Now, the mushrooms. A few well-placed torches should ignite the entire harvest.
Again, shouldn't you leave? Sorry, I thought the lore was if he ingested or became involved in the mushrooms, it'd kill him. Alright, well, let's leave before you inhale anything.
Let's get out of here. Celia, about your husband.
Not now, Fenorian. I have more important matters. As I was saying, I'll compensate double wages for all who remain. With your expertise, we'll revive the traditional methods and be producing excellent wine in no time.
That was excellent work, friend. We destroyed Lord Gallio's laboratory and managed to rescue the workers he experimented on. There might be some ramifications over remaining Vesper Valente, but it won't become the sweeping problem I feared.
But we didn't stop the auction.
We didn't have to. Urcelia told me she interrupted the auction and told Lord Gallio in a voice loud enough for all to hear that the Ravenwatch was on the premises. One mention of House Ravenwatch and the invited vampires fled the estate.
So none of them got any of the Vesper?
Perhaps a few bottles were carried off, but none of them had time to load any casks or crates before they fled. I'll track them down eventually. And before I take my leave, I'll make sure the remaining vintage is destroyed.
What happens to the vineyard now?
Urcelia is set on taking control and turning the vineyard and winery into a profitable enterprise. I have no doubt she'll succeed. And speaking of succeeding, your help was invaluable in stopping Lord Gallio. Please, take this with my thanks.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
I suppose you're off on another adventure now, friend. Know that I appreciate the assistance you provided, and the companionship. If you ever have need of House Ravenwatch, just send the word. We always have time for our friends.
Will you return to Rivenspire now, Fenorian?
Eventually. After I make sure any remnants of Lord Gallio's vile experiments are taken care of here. Then I may check on the auction guests that scattered and see that any absconded bottles of Vesper Valente are dealt with. There's always something.
Ew. Be sure to wash your hands.
I suppose I should thank you. Even Fenorian came through for me this time. My husband's foul operation is finished, and his coven, is that really what he called it? Will scatter before long. Now begins the hard work of restoring this vineyard.
What was Fen like when you knew him?
Much like he still is. Always a perfect gentleman. Our first moment alone after our families arranged our engagement, I told him to drop any pretense of romantic interest. Oh, how he blushed. Pity those pale cheeks won't ever blush again.
You were fine with marrying someone you didn't love or who didn't love you?
Fine with it. I was relieved. In families as wealthy as ours, marriage isn't like some Breton romance novel. It's business. Love never makes for good business. But I never expected him to just disappear like that. It was rude and hurtful.
Would you have gone through with the marriage if you knew he was a vampire?
Obviously, that change occurred right before the marriage. But probably not. If he hadn't disappeared without a trace, his family would have disowned him. Marrying a pauper would not have been good business. I am pleased he seems happy, though.
Alright, what is on my... We are still... here or here. Alright. Okay, I will bring you guys back for when I get around to doing these other two. It may be, for you guys, it won't matter because I'm so far out scheduled, but I'm taking this week off of Elder Scrolls to do Next Fest. Which, if you're not familiar with Next Fest, Steam does this week-long demo extravaganza where there's all these different demos. I've compiled the list. It's 300 and so demos that is on my list. I probably won't get to all 300, but I'm going to try. So I'm going to take the week off of Elder Scrolls, only signing long enough in to get my dailies done. But after I finish Next Fest, I'll probably take a couple days off altogether from all recording, all gaming, because I burned myself out. And then I'll be back to continue. So yeah, anyway, thanks for keeping me company, and I'll be back soon with something.